you guys, welcome back to Mayfield Ranch. My name's Katie. Today we're hanging out here in the garden and we're gonna see how our sweet potato harvest turned out this year. So I figured we'd hang out together and we'll do this together. All right, you guys, I thought we'd hang out together while I see what came of our sweet potatoes. So as you can see, all this plant material is pretty much dead. We've had a few frosts and we are late getting these pulled out of the garden. We planted our sweet potatoes pretty late in season, so I really don't know what we're gonna get here. We're just gonna give it a try, see what comes out. It's a tiny baby one. So we'll dig around through here. I've just got some gloves on because I want to do this real quick. I don't want to mess up my hands. There's a ton of tomatoes laying all throughout here that we didn't get harvested before the freeze. So let's see what kind of sweet potatoes we got. Oh, we got some big ones. All right, this is looking pretty good. So I'm going to set these to the side and then I'll show you what our harvest looks like when we're done. So I'm pretty excited that we've got some good sized sweet potatoes. This one's a tiny one. But like I said, we planted these late, so I didn't really know if we were going to get anything. This is our first time growing sweet potatoes. So I grew them here in this raised bin with the thought that it might be kind of easy to dig around, see what we get out of it. Oh, there's another one, pretty good size. So some rot on the end of this one. So typically, I think what would have been ideal is if we would have been able to harvest these a little bit before it started raining. So like I said, we planted them late. So for us, what happened is as the plant material was dying back and we were giving them, I don't know, with regular potatoes, we've always given it a couple weeks of letting them dry out before we harvest. So this one might not be so good. So we've given it a couple weeks to let them dry out before we harvest them. And I was doing the same thing with our sweet potatoes and it started raining. So this dirt is pretty wet. So it was raining and I didn't want them to continue to sit in water. So I'm gonna go ahead and harvest them. We'll see what we get here. Not getting a whole lot, but we did get a couple of good sized ones. They don't seem to be going very deep here. This little baby onion, tiny little onion that never did much. We'll take that. It was surviving the frost though. Yeah, there's roots down here, but I'm not getting sweet potatoes that are very deep. They all seem to be kind of right along the top. Now maybe that's the kind of sweet potatoes we bought. I'm not really sure. This is our first time with them. I definitely planted a handful of plants, so we're not getting many potatoes compared to the number of plants I planted, but we also had them in this pretty small space. This is like a 6-foot long bin here. There's a little one. So we're sure getting some tiny ones. Big ones, some tiny ones. There's a mix. And I think letting them sit here in this wet soil probably wasn't such a good idea. We probably should have pulled them a little bit early before the first rain. But like with many things, we get busy and don't get to it when we should. So we'll do the best we can with the time that we have and we'll make it work. Lots of tomatoes though, just tons of tomatoes laying all over the top here. I'm sure that will bring us many volunteers next year. If you guys didn't watch our videos in the beginning of this season, we just have volunteers everywhere. I guess that's a good indicator that at the end of our season, we don't clean it up too well. Whoops, I broke this guy. This is a pretty good sized one. I just broke him. Put him in our bucket. There's another one. Now I'm digging pretty deep down here, a couple of feet, because I just want to make sure I get any, like if they're growing down deeper. And there's a little tiny one. So I'm not really sure what's contributing to the size of these, the difference in size. Some are pretty good size and some are very tiny. So maybe because we planted them late, although some had time to get pretty big. So I don't know, there's a funny shaped one there. We had a big tomato planted over here. I'm gonna go ahead and just dig around and see if the roots spread out. And they did. The little guy. Yeah, so the plants spread out quite a bit because I only planted them on that side. And there are some over here. A bunch of little ones. A bunch of tiny guys down here. So I'm not sure what the contributing factors are. So we were growing tomatoes in here with them. And of course, I didn't do any research. I don't know if they grow well with the tomatoes or not. I need a place to stick these plants in. I was ordering some seeds and I saw sweet potato slips for sale. So of course I bought them without any idea where I was gonna put them. And I found some space out here. So I think I'm gonna call this a success for our first time. And if we wanna grow more, I'd probably give them a little bit more space. But growing them in this bin actually worked well. It's pretty easy to kind of dig around in here and get them out, unlike in the ground. I think it would be a little bit harder. Remnants of some of the plants. Another little guy. Gonna finish up, make sure I didn't miss any. And then we'll get these all washed off and I'll show you what we got. All right, I think that's good. I think I checked this pretty thoroughly. So let's get these cleaned up and I'll show you what we ended up with.
Okay, I'm going to show you our harvest for our sweet potatoes. So here is our biggest sweet potato. And here's our littlest sweet potato. It's quite a bit of difference, it looks like. I think this will be a good food source for us for the next couple months. We can have it with our meals. We are going to package this up for $50 February.
Okay, you guys, this is what our harvest looks like. So we brought it in, we got it all cleaned up. Now some of them are dark, like this is pretty dark. So let me show you the difference. And like these look pretty good here, right? So this one was one of the dark ones. We just scrubbed it off to clean it up just to see if it was still good. And it is. It looks pretty good. So I think what we can do is we'll be able to make use of these for $50 February. Let me show you the difference. So this is the tiniest sweet potato we grew. And this is the largest. So we got one really good size one. And then I'd say maybe like 2, 4, 6, maybe 6 average size, and then a bunch of tiny ones. So this ended up being our harvest. I'll try to link below. I'll try to add it in and share with you how much I paid for these sweet potato slips. So in the end, I don't think it wasn't worth it this round to buy those sweet potato slips. But in fairness, I'm gonna leave a link to the video in the description below where I planted them. So in fairness, I bought those slips without any plan of where I was gonna put them, and I just put them in after about a week of letting them sit in the house. So it's probably not their fault. And we did have good results with this one. So overall, I think I'm pretty happy with what we were able to do. What do you think, babe?
I think this will feed us. A little bit of butter on this would be pretty good.
All right, so what we're gonna do is a couple of these probably can sit on the shelf and help us out in $50 February. We'll just eat them fresh. A couple of these, I'm gonna use them for making sweet potato slips for next year, or I'm gonna try. And I'll share with you guys how that turns out. This was our first time planting sweet potatoes, and I'm gonna give it a try so I don't have to buy slips next year. I'm gonna try to make them on my own, and we'll see how we do.
I figure we could just boil them or pressure cook them and put some butter on them. It'll be pretty good. It does look like we have a little bit of pest activity because we don't use any pesticides, so it's extra protein. So
Ew.
we'll roll with it.
So some mixed results here, but I am pretty pleased with what we were able to grow this year in our garden, and it was our first time with these sweet potatoes. So I'm gonna try to start slips, and be sure you're subscribed so you can follow along in our garden next season and see all the updates on our animals here at Mayfield Ranch. See you guys next time.